This is going to solve most of our problems as UFC fans. The UFC and Netflix are nearing a $3 billion deal, reportedly worth $1 billion a year over the course of 3 to 4 years. And as they near a completed deal starting at the beginning of 2026 with Netflix, we're starting to get some big fight rumors that seemed to be dead in the water. One of them I thought we would never hear again is Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler. Michael Chandler posted saying Conor 124 2026, which is a Saturday. Now, I know some of you guys are going to sit here and say, oh, here we go again. Chandler's getting delusional about Conor coming back. The UFC currently makes around $735 million a year from ESPN for their rights package. If the UFC is going to get another 25-30% yearly in essentially a raise moving over to Netflix, they got to make it worth it. And starting the deal with Netflix being Conor versus Michael Chandler, and who knows, maybe even February is Jones Aspinall. I could see them pushing all of the big fights, aside from DDP Hamzat, because that's already announced. I could see them pushing all of the big fights like Jones and Aspinall, Chandler and McGregor onto the Netflix deal, because the UFC's fight library is slowly being deleted off the ESPN Plus app, which many fans, including myself, believe that this means that they're going to be moving on from ESPN. There was also issues with fans trying to purchase UFC 313, Magomed Ankalaev against Alex Pereira. That was also a big deal for the UFC because they couldn't get their pay-per-view sold. There's a lot to talk about in regards to UFC's next streaming deal, because I think the UFC has been on a gradual decline for roughly 3 years now. And I think that these big fights being made, we also have Oliveira Topuria next month, but we're starting to get big fights being made. We got DDP Hamzat. Hamzat's in the US. That shows you that Dana White and the UFC are pulling some strings to make these big fights happen. We're going to get Makhachev JDM in Australia later this year. That's another super fight. Maybe they do Jones Aspinall at MSG in November, which is what I've been saying for months if it ever happens. But now I could honestly, sad to say it, I could see them pushing this into 2026 and Tom Aspinall fighting Ciryl Gane in the meantime as a co-main event to a pay-per-view or a main event to a pay-per-view. Dana White recently said that Conor McGregor was not going to be fighting anytime soon and that they hadn't talked in a minute. Here it is right here.
Conor, what's the latest with him? Do you think he's going to fight anytime soon, or what? How many fights
he's
has he
not
left?
fighting anytime soon. I haven't talked to him in a minute. But yeah, I don't know.
And that was about 2 weeks ago. So all of the winds are blowing in the direction of UFC going to Netflix. Obviously, we have the fight library being removed from ESPN Plus. Dana White saying that Conor's not going to fight anytime soon. Not fighting anytime soon would make sense if we're talking about January of next year. That's almost 7 months away. So I think this fight, I think Jones and Aspinall, amongst other fights, are going to get made. I think we're still going to get Islam Makhachev and Ilia Topuria at some point, even if it's at 170. Like I mentioned, the UFC has been in a decline. I think that they are going to be able to right this ship on a new platform, because the UFC fans are really tired of cookie cutter, just like no soul to the UFC with these ESPN cards at the Apex, weak fight nights, honestly, weak pay-per-views at this point too. And I think part of it has to do with ESPN kind of giving up on the UFC's relationship with them, which is why the UFC is going to move. Aside from the money, aside from all of that, I think the UFC is a little bit too locked in to 46 shows a year, 43 shows a year, X amount of expenses per event. I think that this extra money coming in from Netflix, and most likely a more lenient schedule obligation, that they'll be able to cut down on the number of events. They should drop down from 45 events a year to 38 or 9. 6 less events a year. Basically, where we're having UFC 3 times a month, about. And then you also have much better card quality, fewer fighters on the roster, so the fighters that are there can get paid better. It makes more sense for the UFC to leave ESPN, and I think that's why we're going to see McGregor, Chandler, Jones, Aspinall, Makhachev, Topuria, all of those happen, or even Oliveira, Topuria too, if Oliveira gets past Ilia. All of those, I believe, will happen in 2026, and that's really good news for all of us, because Netflix has almost 300 million subscribers. ESPN Plus has about 30 million. This is going to blow up the sport to new proportions, where You go onto Netflix and you go, oh my God, there's a Conor McGregor fight tonight for free. I don't have to pay anything for it or something like that. This is going to grow the sport massively, and I think we're going to look at a massive 2026 and on for the UFC. So let me know what you guys think. Who do you think the UFC is going to go to? Is it Netflix? Is it Amazon? Is it staying with ESPN, which seems unlikely? But where do you think the UFC is going to be streaming their fights in 2026? Did you like this video? Then like and subscribe down below. I also do multiple live streams per week, along with behind the scenes content and members only live streams for our channel members. So become a channel member for access to bonus content. It's only $5 per month and it greatly helps the channel's growth. I also do a podcast with my best friend Bo, and I have a non-MMA channel as well called Wyatt's World. You can check both of those out linked below.